morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to look at a new Hippowdon, and I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a big boy, good news, Hippowdon has totally got your back. Now, starting off, I should mention our translation here comes from the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net. Cheers, Joe! We've got 150 HP, and 150 HP on a stage 1 is gigantic and awesome and brilliant and lovely and wonderful and great and yay. It's more than some stage 2s have. It's really, 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 really big. Then you add into that the fact that it's got a retreat cost of 4, which means you activate buff padding, and all of a sudden we've got a 200 HP single prize Pokemon. That's a good start. Then you add in the weakness to grass, which basically at the moment means you've got no weakness. Rillaboom decks really do seem like they're going to be the best grass decks, but that is just not happening at the moment. Then you add in how ubiquitous Welder decks are at the moment, whether you're talking Reshiram and Charizard decks, or whether you're talking more general Welder box decks, it doesn't really matter, they're everywhere, which is properly beating grass decks down. And then you build in the fact that you're fighting type. And being fighting type is awesome. It means briefly pre-rotation, we got Diancie Prism Star to do a little bit of extra damage. It means that we've got Martial Arts Dojo to do extra damage if you're using basic fighting energy. 10 if you're not behind on prizes, 40 if you are. Then you add in Karate Belt to reduce your attack cost by 1 if you're behind on prizes. And then you're hitting weakness on Pikachu and Zekrom, the best attacker right now, and Dedenne, the best support Pokemon right now. And when this set comes out as Darkness Ablaze, and already in Japan, you're then hitting weakness on Eternatus VMAX, possibly the best attacker when the set comes out, and Crobat V, the best support Pokemon when the set comes out. The basics here are about as good as we've seen on any Pokemon. But what about the attacks? Well, the attacks here, they're big. You do lots of damage. First attack, 2 fighting, 1 colorless energy, flip 3 coins. This attack does 80 damage for each heads. Now, if you can flip a full 3 heads here, then you're into tag team KOing territory. 3 heads is 240, plus Diancie Prism Star is 260, plus Martial Arts Dojo when you're not behind on prizes is 270, and then Mewtwo and Mew is going down, Reshiram and Charizard is going down. You will be 10 damage short of Arceus and Dialga and Palkia, but might I suggest having a think about Vitality Band. That will do the extra 10 damage if you're desperate. So yeah, there's quite a lot to like here in terms of the damage done from this attack. Now, of course, we are talking about a flippy attack. This is not free energy 240. This is free energy, hey, there's a chance of 240. It's not a huge chance, admittedly. Flipping 3 heads in a row is a 1 in 8 chance, 12.5%, but still, there is a chance. But here's the thing. Glimwood Tangle just came out. And Glimwood Tangle is a lovely card. It's a stadium card, but it's basically a stadium version of the old Victini. Or I suppose you could instead think about it as the slightly newer Victini. When you flip coins for an attack, you may reflip them. Now, it's an all or nothing thing. So if you flip 2 heads, you can reflip all 3 coins, but you cannot go, oh, I flipped 2 heads. Let's just reflip the final coin. That ain't how it works, ladies and gentlemen. That's naughty. You're not allowed to do it. But it still raises your chances of hitting 3 heads. Yeah, it's a 1 in 8 chance, but at least you get to take that 1 in 8 chance twice. Of course, the other thing to bear in mind with Glimwood Tangle here is that it is a stadium, which means that if you're using Glimwood Tangle to reflip, you must therefore not also be using Martial Arts Dojo to do a little bit of extra damage. Yeah, it's a little bit sad, boo hiss, etc., but it's one of those things, ladies and gentlemen. One of those things. But there is a chance it stops you hitting the numbers, and that would actually be really, really sad. So something to bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Something to bear in mind. Now, the other thing we need to talk about here, of course, is the attack cost. The attack cost is not cheap. What we're looking for is fighting double colorless, because then you can use Karate Belt if you're behind on prizes, you can use Twin Energy, and all of a sudden you're paying this attack cost in one go. Job's a good un. But it's not 1 fighting 2 colourless, it's 2 fighting 1 colourless. And that makes a fairly gigantic difference. Now, this is a very, very strong candidate for Colossal. But then again, Colossal's a stage 2. Now, Colossal lets you accelerate a fighting and a fire energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way that you like. So you use Colossal to get a fighting and a fire on here. Then you attach from your hand, and now you've got all 3 energy on and you're good to go. In a Colossal deck, this is really, really nice. Now, the good news is you don't actually have to flip 3 heads. If you're against a Pikachu and Zekrom or an Eternatus VMAX, 2 heads will be fine. You'll do 160 even with no damage modification at all, double to 320, and that's a KO. Against something like Dedenne or Crobat, you're fine. Because against Dedenne or Crobat, right, you're doing with 1 head, you're doing 160. That's enough for Dedenne. Okay, Crobat, you need to do 90 and then double it for weakness. But with either Diancie or Martial Arts Dojo, even if you're not behind on prizes, or Vitality Band, you're getting the KO. With weakness, this is good. Without weakness, you can get some big KOs here. But with weakness, you're pretty much entirely sorted. You will be fine. Is it worth the flips? Yes. Because you've still got gigantic HP and you're still a phenomenal typing. But let's just say it is worth the flips if you can get the energy on. And getting the energy on is going to be one of the questions. But the good news is, if you can get even more energy on, there is a second attack, which is not anywhere near as good. 3 fighting, 1 colourless energy, 150 damage. And look, if we're just looking at the damage here, it's not great. Now, you will get a Pikachu and Zekrom and basically anything that's weak. Well, actually, no, you won't. Because Eternatus, you're 10 damage short. 10, and then weakness, obviously. And again, we can use Diancie, Prism Star, or Vitality Band, or Martial Arts Dojo. But the point is, we've got to use some damage modification to get an Eternatus VMAX after putting 4 energy on. I'm not sure how in favour of this I am. Against single prize Pokemon, you'll get the vast majority of them. And certainly when you start using any damage modification and go up to like 170, 180, 190 even, you'll be fine. But against non-weak multiple prize Pokemon, you're just not getting KOs here. This isn't like the first attack where, alright, it's not that terribly likely, but you can flip 3 heads and get a big KO. Yay! This is not the same thing. And I don't think I like this attack. You do less damage here than you would do flipping 2 heads on the first attack. And I'd rather take my chances flipping 2 heads on the first attack, especially when you bear in mind you've got Glimwood Tangle, so you need to flip 2 out of 3, but you get 2 chances to do so. So I'll be honest with you here, I'm not liking the second attack. I don't like the attack cost, it's far too expensive. I don't like the fact that it only does 150. It is not a particularly efficient attack. Doesn't necessarily need to be, but this is all about the first attack. When I look at Hippowdon and start thinking about how good it is, I am thinking purely of the first attack. I'm thinking whack down a Glimwood Tangle, get yourself a Diancie Prism Star, and roll. And just try and make sure that you are doing everything you need to do to get the free energy on there, flipping as many heads as you can, and just smashing. And it won't always work. And you won't always get the energy on there, and you won't always flip the heads. But again, we should be talking about a 200 HP single prize Pokemon. You've got a bit of time here. Worth bearing in mind if I haven't made it explicit enough already. Obviously, if you're using buff padding, you're not going to also be able to use Vitality Band on the same Pokemon. That should be fairly straightforward. Let's go ahead and give this 3 Wassies. I think it is a perfectly competent Pokemon. I think it's a really nice rogue deck. I think it is a great Pokemon to slip into a fighting deck when you need just a really big, bulky single prize Pokemon. But I worry that it's maybe a little bit too expensive and maybe just a little bit too flippy, and then we end up with a Pokemon which is just not quite good enough. Though I would love to be wrong, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to be wrong. Either way, I'd like to know what you think about this Pokemon, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.